Have you ever kind of noticed that we as humans don't like to be wrong? You know, as, somebody's always telling you you're wrong. How does it feel when somebody tells you you're wrong? Is the first thing you do is go on a defensive? Do you block them out? How does being wrong affect you? I had my whole entire childhood was raised by a fairly abusive father who came from um, a perspective that money was everything and raised his kids to believe that you need to be wealthy in order to be a person, in order to achieve success. And he had three kids, two girls and one boy, and the boy that he raised has the same mentality as he does, that you are only a person, you are only successful if you have wealth. And these are not happy people. These are, my father's always been very depressed. He claims that he's on these happy pills because he has to take a pill in order to stop him from putting a gun to his head. And this is a man that constantly told me I was wrong. And my brother is basically the same way. He's an alcoholic, but will never admit that he's an alcoholic. But his way of getting his happiness is through getting himself on drugs and alcohol. Mind you, he's successful. He's got the money. So these are people that would be right. Meanwhile, the daughters um, both appear to be on a disability, a whole freaking welfare system. And to the ones that are wealthy, we would appear that we were the ones that were wrong. Yet, are we really wrong? We had a point to make. It's funny, the three females in the family that I was raised, my mother and both me and my sister, seemed to always never be heard, while the two male dominating people are the only ones that get to be heard, and all they do is criticize and tell everybody else that they're wrong while they are so right. Now, if this happened, 50 years ago, it might appear that they were the ones that were right if society was judging us. I mean, still, most people would judge that anything I've got to say is completely wrong. But let's just look at our global economy. How well is it doing? Let's just look at the air that we're breathing. How healthy is that? Let's just look at the reality. Why do we need so much medication to be happy? Let's just look at how many people are addicted to something. Like, and there's always a wealthy person. If you find pollution in the air, you'll find a wealthy person behind there. If you want to find pollution in the water, there's always a wealthy person there. You don't see people on a welfare system causing too much pollution. But we're known as society's problems. And it's like, why is it that we would be perceived as a problem? Why is it that we are always the ones that are being judged to be wrong? Um, that part doesn't make too much sense to me, because it just seems like I'm being proven right every day. And um, wealth is not the answer. Wealth does not make you be a person. Um, I've come to learn that constant criticism and telling other people you're wrong, be aware of what you're going to tell them they're wrong about, because you're going to end up creating exactly what you fear most. One of the things my father always used to say is that women are responsible for all problems in the world. We just spread our legs open and just baby machines without any sense of responsibility, and we all end up single mothers on welfare. Meanwhile, here's an abusive man that always told my mother that if she doesn't do what he says, she would leave and leave with nothing while she had 3 kids. This man was making himself known that if my mother didn't love the abuse that he was inflicting on her life, she'd be a single mother on welfare. And what happened to us 2 girls? Well, we kept fighting so much that we ended up being on a disability. So what is the big fight about? What is so wrong about being wrong? I mean, I think that's where we need to sort of look at is, can we not see that every one of us are wrong? Isn't it kind of a good thing if we all just sort of admit, okay, I'm wrong. I'm perfectly at one with being wrong. I'm I see that part of my biggest problem is fighting with somebody who was telling me I was wrong. I had a situation with my brother who was trying to tell me I was wrong, and he was saying, you don't take criticism all that well. And it's like, okay, that statement was just a criticism, and it's how do I take that one? It was like his criticism always was something that would put you in a corner. How do you take that statement well? Either you disagree with it. No, I take criticism well. I listen to what you got to say. I just have a different opinion. So if I disagree, then that's an agreement with his statement. And I mean, it blocked me right into a corner where I had to agree with him or else I'd be wrong and he'd be right. And it's like, that's the insanity that I have been living in. It's like, so, and the only time everything sort of fell into place is when I said, okay, I'm wrong. You're right. You know, and then life started to be easier. I didn't have anybody to fight with anymore. And it's just like, if we're going to create a completely different world, isn't it sort of important for every one of us to admit that we're wrong? And if we put ourselves in a place of, okay, maybe I could be wrong, doesn't that sort of open up more communication so we can find out what is right? I mean, if I sat back and said, okay, I could be wrong, tell me where I'm wrong. And then if they have a perspective, then aren't I entitled to a perspective back? It seems like when we're telling somebody they're wrong, that's the end of the conversation. You're just wrong. And I'm saying that, okay, let's all sit at a table and agree, okay, we're all wrong, but let's try and figure out who's right. What is something that makes everybody right? And we have this belief, and every one of us on this planet has this belief, and this one belief is fucking up our whole world. And that belief is, you can't please all the people all the time. And it's like, okay, let's just look at that statement. That is just a belief. There's no fact in that whatsoever. The only fact to that belief is the fact you believe it, and that's all you're going to see. And if you had that belief for centuries and centuries, then that's all you're ever going to see. Has anybody even tried to make everybody happy all of the time to even prove that it's impossible? I've never seen anybody even try to please all the people all the time. When we see that at least tried, and tried for a length of time until we end up finding out how it's successful, then would we create a world where you can please all the people all the time? Half of the everything that we're doing on this planet is the fact that we're all friggin' wrong. None of us like to hear that we're wrong. None of us like to continue the conversation to find out who's right. And we all have a belief that's preventing us from being right. Just something to think about. Peace out.